so happy we alive.
Night. This evening, we are just thrilled to have with us a teacher's teacher, a therapist's therapist, Dr. K.Zeig, who is in Louisville conducting a seminar having to do with family therapy and especially the work of Milton H. Erickson, department at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I was privileged to study under Carl Whitaker and a number of other very forward-thinking therapists. But let's not talk about me, because we have Dr. Zeig right here with us today, and I just can't wait to pick his mind and find out what he's up to. He's going around the globe. He's making changes. He's bringing in a whole new consciousness to Earth. Let's meet Dr. Zeig and talk with him here a bit. Welcome to Louisville.
Hi, Patrick, and thank you so much.
How did the conference go?
Very well. Yeah, we had about 200 people.
Oh,
it was
wow.
a meeting of the Kentucky Association of Marriage and Family Therapists.
And let's talk. Well, first of all, just about yourself. I know that I believe you got a Ph.D. in psychology at Harvard.
No, I got my Ph.D. in clinical psychology at Georgia State University.
At Georgia State.
One simple correction: Erickson was in Michigan. He was the director of research at Eloise Hospital. He wasn't at Madison. Carl Whitaker, who I also loved and admired and learned a lot from, he was in Madison.
I guess he was mentioned so much. He was born in Wisconsin, anyway.
Erickson was born actually in Orem, Nevada.
Oh, really?
He was born in a three-walled log cabin. The fourth wall was the side of the mountain. And his family traveled east in a covered wagon. So that may have been a metaphor for his life, doing things in unusual ways. So his family lived mostly on a farm in rural Wisconsin.
That's where I get the connection. Well, anyway, he was brought up so much, but anyway, back to yourself then. And then you got into therapy and got into studying Erickson. Let me just read here briefly a few notes about Dr. Zeig. He's the editor of Go Inside magazine, director of the Milton H. Erickson.
No, Go Inside is something that I wrote for. I'm the director of the Milton Erickson Foundation, which I founded 30 years ago. And the Erickson Foundation is an organization that does continuing education. So most psychotherapists, psychiatrists, social workers, counselors, marriage and family therapists, they need continuing education. The Erickson Foundation is a nonprofit organization. It's a provider of continuing education. We do a lot of different kinds of meetings. We do one meeting that's our premier conference, which is on the evolution of psychotherapy. As many as 9,600 people have come to these evolution conferences. They're like Woodstock for psychotherapists. Some of the greatest psychotherapists in the 20th century, latter half of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, speak at our meetings. It's a way of forming consilience, whereas the psychotherapy used to be competing schools. Now there's more of a move to integration. What are the commonalities that make psychotherapy work? So people like Carl Rogers, Rollo May, Bruno Bettelheim, R.D. Lang, Carl Whitaker, these are the people, Viktor Frankl, these are the people who have spoke at this evolution conference. They are the people, the architects of late 20th and 21st century psychotherapy. That's our premier conference. We also do a meeting on brief psychotherapy, a meeting on Ericksonian psychotherapy, and a meeting on couples therapy, in addition to intensives that we teach about hypnosis and using hypnosis in psychotherapy. In addition to that, I've edited, co-edited, authored, or my work is the subject of some 20 books and monographs that appear in 11 languages. So a lot of my work is traveling and teaching. In May, I spent 18 days in Singapore. In June, I spent 18 days in China. In July, I was in New York and Canada and Mexico. In August, I was in Australia. In September, I was in Europe. In October, I'm here in Kentucky and also in Montreal and also in New York. And so traveling and teaching, because there's so much of a need for therapists to educate themselves and inspire themselves. And I hope that I add a little bit to their process and some of the difficult job that they have in turn inspiring other people. In addition to that, I have a clinical practice. In addition to that, I have 2 publishing companies that I administer. One is the nonprofit, one is a for-profit. So that gives you a capsule summary of things that I'm doing now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't. Let's get back to. I don't even know what you might want to go into, but the evolution of psychotherapy. Now that's like a lot of people in the Bible Belt don't like the word evolution, and then psychotherapy kind of went out of style with the hippies, and a lot of people associate psychotherapy or just psychiatry in particular with controlling people's minds and using a lot of medication like Zoloft and Paxil, and it's most people don't realize that that prior to the pharmacalization of therapy that there were people like Carl Whitaker who did not use any medicine at all, and that there's whole schools of therapy, in fact, that sought to get more at the root of the problem rather than just treating the symptom. And so along came Milton Erickson and systems theory, and so now. In a sense, it seems like the world is more confused and acting out, if you will, than ever before, and there's more of a need for insight and creative vision than ever before, and I'm just thrilled to find that someone like you is like Johnny Appleseed almost. Mm-hmm. I mean, the general public, I do not think is very aware of the monumental possible consequences that can come from your point of view, or this point of view, this broader perspective. I don't know what you would call it, the Ericksonian influence, the impact that it can have on the world. And I'm amazed that you're traveling around the world doing these conferences. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, psychotherapy is an American export. Psychotherapy was invented in 1885 when Freud first became interested in psychological aspects of medicine. And then for the largest portion of the next 60 years, it was dominated by psychoanalytic thinking. This is answering the question, why? Why are people the way that they are? So Freud was more of an archaeologist. He was interested in the roots. Then after World War II, psychotherapy, because of the devastation in Europe, psychotherapy moved to the United States, and it took on the flavor of American pragmatism. And it became more interested in how, rather than theorizing why. How do you get people from point A to point B? Now, if people could do that for themselves, there wouldn't be a need for psychotherapists. There's more than 1 million psychotherapists in the United States, and psychotherapy is a growing profession around the world. Countries like Singapore, China, Japan, that don't even have a tradition of psychotherapy, they're building psychotherapy into their social fabric. Now, part of the reason for that is that the technology has improved so much. For example, if people are traumatized, well, many people who are traumatized, they find ways of getting over their trauma. They may do that in religious ways, spiritual ways, meditative ways. But now there are technologies in psychotherapy for helping people quickly to surmount trauma. And when we have psychological problems, the way in which the human design is made, it's a little hard for us to see the forest from the trees. So when you have a trained listener who is there with a technology and can help to move you from point A to B efficiently, then psychotherapy becomes a good thing. I know when I was growing up, there was a stigma attached to psychotherapy. If you went into psychotherapy, you were considered to be weird or sick, mentally ill. But now people are coming because it's more like coaching. They're interested in their growth and development. How can I be more effective in a world that's filled with complications and stresses? And if there's someone who has a technology who can guide me through this process quickly, then let's seek that person out. Let's get the best help possible. Medication is a separate issue.